Hello and welcome to Filmi Ladies. I am Beth and here is Pitu. And we are going to talk today about the recent Netflix release Lust Stories 2, which in my opinion is not really about lust at all. So let's start with that. Pitu, what do you think these stories are actually about?
Well, first of all, I have no idea what was going on in episode 1 and the first one. I don't know what was going on in the third one either, except it felt like a fever dream, or it felt like Sujay Ghosh was on drugs, maybe. I don't know. The last one was more like a thriller or a whodunit or a whodunit. The only good one was the second one, which our Queen Konkona rose to the occasion and gave us a good one.
Yes, I would agree with that loosely. Yeah.
3 was awful, and 1, oh my God! Like, can we agree that Neena Gupta is very overexposed at this point?
So I haven't been able to watch Masaba. I just don't
I
like
have
it.
not
I
seen
tried
it.
and I just couldn't get into it. I like the idea. So, there's 4 stories. The first one is our Balki's has, wacky grandmother who gives advice about talking, have sex before you get married so you can see see what it's like and see how compatible you are and see
Yeah.
whatever. I have no issue with this piece of advice, but yeah, Neena Gupta is like magic pixie green dream grandma is
She's
no
so
one should have to do it,
cringy.
but yeah, it was heavy-handed in a way that did not work for me. Of the 4, I would say that it was the most about lust, but I actually,
Yeah.
and I can get to this in a bit, but I actually think they're about something else, and I can argue that this one is also about this other thing, but I don't I kind of like the idea of starting with the sort of lightest one and whatever, but that poor the granddaughter who had to kept saying, "Oh, grandma, you're so much, like you're so kooky, like oh my
Yeah.
gosh," and it was like, stop. Does anyone talk this way? And I don't mean necessarily in terms of reality, but just like, is this like these reactions and the emotions here all seem, I don't
It
know,
was so bad.
disingenuous. And like the only part of it that I really was into was the granddaughter's parents. So the grandmother's son and his wife, who exchange a few looks over the course of it, of when they are prompted to think about their own relationship. As I've said many times about other things, because I'm middle-aged, maybe I think the middle-aged people are kind of more interesting, but I just thought they were the least played up. And so therefore they felt the least artificial and kind of,
Yeah.
ugh. And I don't mean because it's awkward to talk about these things, even if it is. I just mean like it just felt very artificial to me.
It was so bad. I think the last time that I was really cribbing and complaining a lot about dialogue was when we watched Brahmastra,
Oh yeah.
because it was so bad. Like all those Instagram reels where people were like, Alia Bhatt's dialogue, whatever. And there's like just a page and she goes, Shiva, 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 like just says Shiva constantly. I felt like with this one, with this first story, it was just like have Dadi say all kinds of like ridiculous, cringy, over the top, awful artificial stuff. And then basically Mrinal Thakur, who played the granddaughter, her dialogues were, it was just hee hee hee, ha ha, hee, oh, you're so sexy. I was just like, can you not? It was so bad. I really hated the first one a lot. And I like Neena Gupta a lot, like especially in Panchayat, which is such a great show. She's so good in what was that movie that she did where she was pregnant and Ayushmann Khurrana was her son?
Badai-Ho.
Yes, she was so good in Badai Ho as well. But I'm starting to feel like she's a little bit overexposed, and I could do with a little less Neena Gupta right now. Which is not to say that I do not want people of her age to be on screen, because I know that's another thing we keep cribbing about, that we're like, why are there not enough people in that age bracket on screen? But maybe someone else for a while. Like, I don't know, maybe Soni Razdan or maybe Lilette Dubey. Like, it doesn't have to be Neena Gupta all the time.
Oh, I love Lilette Dubey.
I love Lilette Dubey. When was the last time we saw her, though?
Also, let's note, Neena Gupta is but 6 years older than the Khans.
Is she? Oh, I had no idea. Wow.
She's younger than we think, than that character, I think, was supposed to be. So yeah, her peers who were born in the late 50s, early 60s, like there's plenty of people who could also have done this. But how did you feel about her reaction to the sweet potato samosa? Because that was the most interesting part to me.
That would have been my reaction if someone gave me a sweet potato samosa, because you do not mess with samosas. If I want to eat diet food, which is never, I will eat diet food. Do not give me a samosa and then tell me there's sweet potato in it, because that will make me mad.
So back in the day, I think you were still in Chicago at this time. If I recall, there was a food truck run by an Indian American chef who I think had also been on Top Chef or something like that. And she was doing some interesting kind of fusion samosas. And so like in that situation, I would be very happy to have a sweet potato samosa, but so I don't have this hardline approach that you have, but you know better than I. So
I'm like, do not mess with my snack foods. I eat my snack foods and my deep fried stuff knowing fully well that it's clogging my arteries, and I'm okay with it.
well, yeah, I just think sweet potatoes are delicious. So like I order sweet potato French fries over white potato French fries often because I think they are tasty. So yeah, I mean, you could do like a sweet potato filling with brown sugar and I don't know what else in a samosa. That sounds really good to me, but I understand it's not a samosa.
But then it's not a samosa. And also I don't want to bait and switch. You know what I mean? Like if I go to a restaurant, I order sweet potato fries instead of like the regular fries, I'm ordering them.
Yeah,
but when I see a samosa and I'm like, oh, that's delicious. And then I open it and I'm like, excuse me, what? It's like you put kale in my food or something. Like I want to eat like bhel puri and you're putting kale in it. Don't put kale in it. I'll eat a kale salad if I want to eat a kale salad.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's talk. I want to skip Konkanas because we agree it was the best.
Yeah.
Let's go to Sujoy Ghosh, number 3. I'm a fan of Sujoy Ghosh in general. Kahani remains one of my favorite films ever made. Would happily do an episode on that sometime. I just think it's brilliant. His other films I'm less in love with, but I like them. I've seen him. He did a really great short back for that. I believe it's a liquor company, Royal Stag, when they were doing interesting shorts online. He did one that was super good. But this, I'm not going to claim I understood it. I don't think that I did.
Right.
I don't know if it was a dream sequence or there was clearly something very unreal about the town that they were in. And I was really glad when it became clear that that was not really happening, because at first I thought, what AI did they use to make this backdrop or whatever? And they're like, there's never choirs in Indian films. So that was really disconcerting. All of it's very disconcerting. The way poor Tamana was costumed was really weird and exaggerated. I don't know what was going on there. I think I didn't hate it, but I also didn't get it. And I saw some comment by someone on Twitter talking about the emphasis in that one in particular on, sorry, to dainty ears, the male climax and kind of what does that say about the state of lust in cinema or whatever. And I was like, yeah, that really was like, yeah, I don't know. That one to me was definitely not about lust at all.
No, it felt very like Twilight Zone-ish, like when it opened. And I think that whatever was supposed to be like the afterlife or some sort of like purgatory where like souls are like wandering or they haven't.
So was Vijay Varma dead? Is that your take? Okay.
Yes, because at the end you overhear those people who are like investigating the crash, like when he sees his doppelganger dead, presumably dead. Those people are talking about it and they're like, oh, he's like dead or whatever, like something happened to him and stuff like that. So I think he was definitely dead, and I think his soul was wandering in some sort of like in between situation place, and that is also where Tamanna is wandering, or Tamanna is like a figment of his thing and maybe he needs to make peace with what he did if he needs to move on to like either heaven or hell. I don't know. So but I think that was supposed to be the afterlife.
So killing her put his soul at rest, ?
Or in even more jeopardy. Yeah.
I did think that one was interesting. Like I was interested to watch and see how it was going to unfold, partly because the acting was good, partly because it was so
surreal,
weird, and a little bit unsettling and whatever. Also, I loved the interior design in the house. I was like, oh, those paint colors, so beautiful. Right. But
you got bedazzled.
A little bit bedazzled, yeah. And like Sujoy Ghosh loves a sort of interesting cop figure, that's the Royal Stag short that he does, played by Tota Roy Chowdhury, I believe.
But I also didn't understand why the cop was there. Like, who was he? Why
Well,
was he? What
yeah,
did he do?
if this is all a soul in purgatory, then I assume he's some sort of administrative figure, right? Who's going to be like,
Okay.
yes, you get to go or you don't.
Okay.
Traffic control almost for the soul.
Yeah.
I don't know, or slash a guardian angel type
Okay.
figure for Tamana.
Right.
Yeah,
It
this
also
one,
felt so like heavy-handed.
yeah. I do think it's interesting that, so I'll just say, I really feel that most of these stories are about power rather than about
Yeah.
lust. But then I started to think about how closely associated those things can be. And then obviously we talk about a lust for whatever, power, money,
Mm-hmm.
blah, blah, blah. But I do think that at least this show was being promoted as being lust in the sort of sexual and then possibly
Yeah.
romantic sense, right? So like, and that my memory of the first set is a little hazy at this point, but that's kind of what I think I remember the first ones mostly being about. So I like that they were kind of playing with lust as it overlaps with or is colored by or what, like sullied by power
Right.
or whatever. That's interesting to me. So I give some marks to this one for sort of going somewhere with it. I'm not sure it really added up for me, but this is the one of the four that I would be most interested to watch again later to kind of see like has my brain, my little
Right.
hamster wheel done some work on this one.
Right.
And partly that is credit that Sujoy Ghosh has earned with me from past work
Right.
that I'm willing to extend. But yeah, so I didn't hate this one, but it was a little,
Yeah, it was very strange, I thought. And I was also the most disappointed because I was really
mm,
looking forward to it because I really like Vijay Verma, like
right.
especially because because of Darlings, and so I was like, yay! And then we get to see Vijay Verma again. Like it's been a while. So I was most excited about that.
And then like, oh,
I
same guy.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. And then I was like, okay, so are you now going to be typecast where you just
Poor
play this
guy.
like predatory, terrible
I
person every
hope
single
not.
time? Like
I
I was
hope
like,
not.
I hope not. Um, but I thought Tamanna's acting was terrible. Like he was fine,
Mm,
but I just thought she was so dead. She had like dead, maybe she is dead. She had like dead eyes and like her body
yeah.
language was off. She just looked like she was sleepwalking through that thing. And it's like whatever Vijay Verma would say, and then her response would be so like tame. I don't know.
I think that's on purpose.
Is it?
I
Okay.
don't, I think, I mean, if this is what we're saying was going on there,
Yeah.
then I can assume it was on purpose. I've only seen her in a few things, I think, all Telugu.
I've seen her in nothing. So I know
So
nothing about
I
this
kind
lady.
of like seeing her do something less masala-y, to see what that
Mm,
is like from her. Not that I feel like the roles I've seen her in had a whole lot to do. But
mhm.
I was game to see her try. And I think this sort of like woman with maybe sad, definitely slightly mysterious past is kind of
Mhm.
that's a type that comes up.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a little bit femme fatale, not quite, but like, so I thought I was fine with what she was doing, but yeah, yeah, yeah. To think back through that one and maybe try it again would be interesting to me, I guess, with all of this in
Yeah.
mind.
I did like
Um,
the last one, I will say. I mean, I didn't
yeah,
love it as much as I did the second one, but I did like the last one and I very much enjoyed the twist at the end. So spoiler
yeah.
alert, if y'all have not seen Lust Stories 2 yet and you want to see it, then
Well, we
you
already
should.
ruined the third one, but now here comes the fourth one.
Well, the third one isn't even worth watching, so I don't care if I
Oh,
ruined it for y'all. But the fourth one, I mean, there's no real way for us to discuss it without ruining it. So if you guys want to
yeah,
watch it, then maybe switch
yeah.
this
Skip.
episode
Yeah,
off and watch it later. But yeah, what
yeah.
did you think about the last one?
That would be my second favorite of them for sure. Uh I was heavily distracted by the interior decor of the palace as well, because also I've just been thinking about housey things lately. So I guess I'm just in
Right.
about decor. But I I really liked that one felt like it had a completion to it that
Yes.
was very satisfying. Um the sort of way the backstory is looped forward was kind of cool, was satisfying to me. I thought everyone did quite a good job at that, especially the young woman who played
She was so
the
good.
second maid, Rekha, whose name I have in front of me somewhere, Anushka Kaushik. I thought she was very good.
So
Um,
good.
yeah, the ends came together in a satisfying way. Um, the the twist and then a second twist right on top of it was very good, because I
Yeah.
had one reaction and then I had another one right away, and that was, and again, for the whole set to end on that was like, yes, they did stick the landing, I would say, by putting that one at the end. What did you think?
Yeah, I really liked it. And I actually really liked Kajal's performance in it. Although I have one
Yeah,
complaint, but I did like her performance in it. And
overall
at the
good. Yeah,
end, yeah, I loved when they just had the camera was zoomed into her and we could see her expression. Like from the time she gets up from the bed and she clearly is very smug about it. And she's
yeah,
like, yes, my devilish plan has worked. Um, and then she walks over there and then you're expecting like triumph on her face, and then it goes to like, okay, my plan is working, and then it goes to, wait, what's happening? And then her shock, just the way that her face registered all those emotions, I really liked it, because it's like her character was getting um getting all of the things that we were at the same time. And so that was
yeah,
really good to see. It was such a
yeah.
good twist. I love the acting by everyone. The only minor complaint I have about Kajol's character is that we understand that this decrepit Raja in this like decayed, once opulent palace mansion, whatever you want to call it, basically married her, but she used to be a hooker.
Mm-hmm.
And that phone call to like the madam or whoever, who is also
Mm-hmm.
the person who supplies Rekha. The only thing that just I think didn't work for me was that if Kajol was in fact a streetwalker who then got married to this man, I don't buy her Hindi and I don't buy the way
Oh,
she dresses. She was a little too sophisticated. Now it would have
okay.
been different. I think the way, if she didn't want to change her diction and she didn't want to change the way she dressed, that's fine. But then they should have shown that she came from like a high class, like Tawayef family or something like that,
Mm,
where it would be like, okay, so it's still like a house of ill repute or whatever, but at least the way you speak, the way she spoke like an upper middle class person. The way she draped her sari, just everything about her seemed a little to the manner born. But when you see the shots of the brothel, it's
yeah,
a very like sleazy, very seedy place. Now I don't doubt that the Raja would be attracted to her, because he's just like this awful person
yeah,
in general who would be
yeah.
attracted to anybody and everybody. But I was just like, yeah, but if those are your roots and that's where he picked you up from and plonked you in this palace, the way you dress, the way you talk, none of that is making much sense to me. So I just felt like she didn't even have any kind of dialect, and this is supposed to be like in a small town in Rajasthan or something,
I'm
and she
glad you're.
spoke the kind of Hindi that anyone would speak in like a metro, and
Mm.
that seemed very jarring to me.
That I, of course, did not catch any of that, and I'm glad to hear you bring it up. I think I could also, knowing that, I could also buy maybe that if you ever saw her with her husband's social peers, that an
Mm,
astute person could copy and learn and then take those things on,
right,
right? But we never see her interacting with anybody except
right,
with members of the household. So we're not given an opportunity to understand how she would have learned those
right,
things. And in fact, that man seems very likely to have kept her very isolated on purpose,
right.
because he's a manipulative, power hungry,
Yeah, it's a
horrible,
total
horrible villain.
abusive
So yeah,
situation. Yeah.
I don't
Like
see,
I'm
and
not,
he doesn't seem like he would have shown her off either, because
no,
she was a sex worker and he's probably not going
right.
to boast about that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So like I'm not saying that they should have changed her like wardrobe or anything, because like I mean now if she's married to this like Raja or whatever, she's gonna wear these very like demure saris and stuff. But they could have done something with her diction. She just sounded way too polished. Or if they could have done something where she sounds polished like 80% of the time, but 20% of the time when she's emotional
Mm,
or she's angry or she's
it
talking back to him,
slips.
it slips. And or maybe when she's angry and when she's taking out her anger on the servants or whatever, she's foul mouthed and
Yeah.
she uses like galis or something. I don't know, something. I was
Yeah.
just
That's
like,
interesting.
I was so taken out of the world that they had built when she had the call with the brothel worker. I was like, wait, she came from there? She does not sound like she came from there. That is so unbelievable to me. So that was the only complaint I had, but I did like Kajal's performance a lot. It was better than the shrieky stuff she does.
Yeah. And when I had forgotten she was in this until kind of this one started. I was like, oh, that's right, she's in it. So she's obviously in this last one. And then I was pleasantly surprised, because I guess the only other thing I've seen her in, too recently, well, Dilwale, but also she did another Netflix film with her daughter and her mother are in it. Try something.
Tribhanga or something.
There you go. And I thought she was like okay in that, but I'm on record as not being a particular fan of hers, but I thought she did well in this. I would like to dig in a little bit on this one too. And then here comes the very, very serious spoiler warning. So at the end, she has inadvertently given her son, I assume, HIV, by the way they were talking about it, by hiring a woman from the brothel to come work in her house that she knew her husband would seduce, and that this young woman was HIV. They don't actually name the disease, but they say her life was over before it began. I assume that's what they're talking about. And now she has seduced or been seduced by, or whatever, the son. Maybe it's completely mutual. I don't know. They're the same age. So that seems good. And the son is this like, he wants to go study in England. I think we're led to believe he does not have the academic chops to really make that happen, probably. He's talking about he and his mom want to go to England. Of course, the horrible controlling dad is like, no, you're not both leaving, whatever. And so when we are left at the end of the film to realize, it's the prince's life, who is now going to probably be seriously altered, or possibly even over soon. A bunch of different thoughts ran through my head, and one of them was, maybe, I don't want to say that's good for him, because it's clearly not, but then also that takes away having to deal with all this other shit in his life, that his horrible parents, who he knows are, he knows the abusive nature of his parents' relationship. I think we're led to believe, right? He clearly doesn't have a lot of confidence in his academic skills. He doesn't seem to have an idea about what he could do instead of go off to school in Britain, like go to different university, whatever, right? So I wonder if
he's kind of lost in general.
If this is going to provide some kind of alternate for him that he in some way will be able to do something with. And I, by no means do I mean like, an illness is a blessing or anything. I don't mean any of that, but just like his life is about to change pretty seriously, probably. What's that going to be like for him? And is it in any way better than what he was having to deal with? Because I did feel really bad for him.
Right. Well, the other thing I was unsure of was like, what STD was it? Because I'm not a medical doctor, but I don't think there is any STD, including HIV, like including AIDS. I don't think there's any STD that kills people anymore. Like even with HIV, there's enough treatments that a person could be HIV positive for like decades, and as long as they're taking their meds, they'll be fine. So I was a little bit like, it could just be that they're being hysterical.
Yes.
It could just be that the brothel owner, when she says that her life is over, well, it actually is over for her as a sex worker, because once word gets out that you have like a sick, that's it. Like actually your whole brothel could be shut down, like just by infamy or whatever. So that I get. But on what level would her... It's almost like if you follow Kajal's train of thought, it's like she's saying, okay, so this horrible, lustful, abusive man that I'm married to, he will clearly lust after this new person who I know for a fact is infected, and then he'll get infected. Okay, but like he's still not going to die though.
It's a little bit 18th century in the thinking or whatever, right? Like she's going back to the roots of whatever Raja that he is,
Right. Which then in that case, maybe it should have been like a period movie then. Because syphilis did kill people, or did gonorrhea kill people? I don't know. And then, so, but I was like, okay, but like the worst that's going to happen, like, let's say that Rekha did in fact, sleep with the Raja. Okay. The worst that's going to happen is that the Raja is just going to be like sick with this STD. And I'm sure that won't be a walk in the park,
and it's also not going to stop him from basically raping his staff, right? So,
and if anything, then if he still continues to like basically rape Kajal as well, then isn't Kajal going to get the STD too?
Good question.
Because the fact that he had he was abusing that maid and then she ran away. That didn't stop him from abusing Kajol either.
Nope.
So I was kind of like, okay, your entire like plan is kind of bad.
It
You
is
did
not a
not
good
think
plan.
through. It is not a good plan. You did not think any of this through. So I was just kind of like, a lot of that. I just feel like that script wasn't thought through very well.
Yeah, those are some major problems.
Yeah. Now, of course, like as a mother, she clearly does not want her son to get an STD of any kind. And obviously
Right.
that would suck very bad. And also imagine if he were to ever find out why he got it, that would suck also very badly. So I get that. But this whole, what was she hoping was going to happen to the Raja? It was just kind of like, okay, that doesn't make sense. I
Yeah.
just liked it for the acting. But like, if you look at the plot, there are gigantic holes in it.
That's all true. Yeah. Yeah. If they made this a period film, it would have worked a lot better.
Yeah.
Even just by 100 years or even like 50 years, honestly, like
Yeah.
depending on how kind of isolated they are and what they have access to, like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So could have been better, but
Yeah.
But
All
it was
right,
nice to see Kajol again. Okay, let's talk about our
the
favorite.
second one, All Hail Konkona.
She seriously needs to like start directing again, and this is great. But like Death in the Gunj was so amazing, and she needs to like start directing like full length feature movies, and take the power away from like the Rohit Shetty's. Well, I don't know how much power he has right now because he did make the dud called Circus, and all of these other people. And Bansali, like, can she just like come and make some good movies for us? Because I'm so tired.
I mean, for the whole set, I definitely give Amrita Subhash the like acting award for the entire.
Amazing.
She was so good. I mean, Tilotoma Shome is also, of course, wonderful, but
so good.
For me, it's Amrita who walks away with this film.
Yeah.
I
loved that story. It was so good. My favorite scene was like at the vegetable vendor's cart where they bump into each other. And I was like, oh, and the funny thing is like, okay, so this is what I was thinking of. This is how you guys, that the podcast has taken over our lives, is that during that period, I was like, you know what? This is morphing into like a decent friendship actually. And I would almost maybe mention it as an honorable mention in our Valentine's Day episode, because the affection that they had for each other in their eyes, and like the sweetness with which Amrita asks her, like, she's like, did you find a new maid? And she's like, yeah. And then she's like, did you find work? And she's like, 2 jobs. And she's like, oh. And I'm like, oh, you guys.
And the way they move towards being able to talk about what happened is so lovely. And to talk about, I mean, it's not super common that we get to see women talking about their desires. And that was really lovely. And especially because both of them have desires that are not like as socially acceptable or whatever.
Right.
So that, that was really touching, the intimacy that they share. And meanwhile, the vegetable vendor is right there. But who I guess doesn't know the gossip from the apartment building. But, I loved everything about it. I loved the actual realization that obviously the domestic staff are also people.
Right.
And that they are in your house. They do observe you. They do have thoughts about how you are as a person that are separate from how you treat them, right? Like, so, and whenever you're watching, especially historical things where the rich family are doing all sorts of ridiculous things in front of like 10 servants, you're like, yeah, so these are witnesses. Which Agatha Christie, of course, uses to great advantage. But the kind of wholeness of it, and the way again the pieces came together in a really satisfying way. So I was, really, and especially to put that one after Balki's, I was like, ugh.
I know.
Oh,
yeah. I was like, I know this is going to sound so crazy, but like, dare I use the word wholesome? To describe this episode. It was actually wholesome. Who would have thought that one would use the word wholesome? Because it is like a completely screwed up situation, by the way. Like, not that I have like a maid or anyone like that. I don't have a cook or anything like that. I do all my own damn chores. But also, even if I had someone, I do not want to come home from work or from walking my dog to find them having sex in my bed. Okay. Like, first of all, that is not okay. And I don't want that.
Not okay. Not okay.
But given the absurdity of it,
Yeah.
and given the absurdity of the Lotama coming from work at like 3 o'clock and like, catching them and doing it repeatedly. And doesn't she lose her job over it also?
That was not
Like
clear
she,
to me, but maybe.
yeah, I did. I mean, she's like scrolling her phone, and I think I saw the thing where I saw that she basically she gets like an email or a text or something where they basically say she's lost either her job or a contract or something, and I assumed that it was just because she was skipping out of the
I
office,
assume so too.
making these
Yeah.
like excuses about
Yeah.
migraines and acupressure and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it was just so funny. And one thing that I really sort of enjoyed was, so this is very common in India that women really talk about their like domestic servants, or in sort of, it's like they're an indispensable part of their life, and they are very protective of their servants because they cannot function without them. I
Sure.
literally have friends in like Mumbai who are like working moms. They have 2 children. They have a mother-in-law who has arthritis and can't help. They have a father-in-law who needs to get his medicines on time.
Mm.
And these women are working crazy hours. Their husbands don't do jack shit. So the person that they actually rely on is actually their maidservant. And they will go to all kinds of lengths to make sure that their servant is happy,
Mm.
because they're the only person they trust to give their father-in-law their medicines at 4 p.m. and to put up with their mother-in-law's like shrewishness or whatever, and to tidy up the house and stuff like that. Because who else is going to do it? The husband isn't going to do shit. And she's busy. She's working. So it's almost weird where it's kind of like there's jokes I've heard and memes about it that I've heard where people have said, "Oh, I can live without a husband. That's fine. But I can't live without like my Didi, or I can't live without
Yeah.
my help like that. I need her to be happy so she doesn't leave me." So there's almost like this emotional dependence that people have. And I've seen like bickering that happens like when I go to Mumbai, and I have friends who live in like joint families and stuff, and those like servants or cooks or whatever have been working there for like 15-20 years, and they are really trusted and valued. Now, I don't want to like make it sound like it's all hunky dory. There's
Right.
plenty of people that get abused very badly, and it's horrific and it's horrendous, and there's no labor rights that they have or anything like that. So I don't want to pretend it's all hunky dory, but they do have this position in the home that is almost one of power. Like my aunt legit panics when her servant tells her that she needs to go home for like Diwali for like 5 days, and my aunt will like negotiate with her. She's like, okay, instead of like 5 days, could you go for like 4 days? And the maid is like, nope, I'm going for 5 days. And my aunt will be like, what am I going to do for the 5 days that she's gone? So I really kind of like that was brought home, and it really tells you how well Konkona understands those dynamics and those relationships. Because if I did not grow up in that culture, and I certainly have never had like a maid or a cook or anything I don't even have like a dog walker. If I did not grow up there, I would not get that. But there is such a thing as, it's not like you're just paying someone and they're going to do the job for you. You also have to be able to trust them.
Yeah.
A lot of these maids do have the key to the house. My aunt's maid has the key to her house,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So that scene to me was especially even more poignant, like where you see it from both of their perspectives, where none of the maids stick around at Tilottama's house. Like she goes through one, then another, then another. And then Amrita Subhash goes and talks to that. He looked like a gym bro or something. And he was like, I'm vegan and there's no dairy products. And she's like, okay. And,
Yeah.
She's not ever going to have any kind of like,
Yeah.
affection or anything to this like gym bro dude person. So I just liked that affection that they had for each other, vegetable vendor. And it was kind of like, yeah, I kind of miss you. Will you come back? What did you think about? Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, what did you think about the way that they portrayed Amrita's life away from
I
from
liked that
Tilottama, like with her?
we got
I
to
like
see
that
so
as
much of her
well.
life, and like her husband, who doesn't have a ton of lines, but is obviously
Yeah.
key in this as well. That actor is also quite good, I thought.
Yeah.
But the way that he kind of argues with her about how to treat the daughter and
Yeah.
things like that, and that he's actually the more kind of modern thinking of the two
Yeah.
parents and stuff, which despite
Right.
his wife's again, the power that his wife has in
Yeah.
these various settings that they're in. But
This tiny little person.
yeah, but I liked that. And just, they didn't, I don't, if the subtitles were to be trusted, if I recall, they don't actually comment in words on, well, no wonder we sneak off to her boss's house because they're sharing a bed with multiple kids and
Yeah,
it's
they
tight
don't
and
they don't say
whatever
that.
else. So I really like that they, for those of us who may not have thought of that off the top of our heads for how these people live, to show that just kind of in passing once, and then it's, it's not
Yeah.
hammered, it's not belabored.
Yeah. It was just in passing that thing that she said. I think Amrita Subhash said something about how we need the space
Yeah.
or something like that. Yeah. It reminded me of a really terrible movie I saw a really long time ago. Have you seen Salami Ishq?
Yes, I
So
have.
bad.
I love the
It
music
reminded
though.
me, the music is so good. So that, do you remember the track in Salami Ishq that had, was it Sohail Khan and Isha Kopikar?
Yes.
I think it was Sohail Khan and Isha Kopikar,
Yes, I
and
think
they
so.
played this couple that lived in this like really big family, very like cramped quarters. And I think they were like newlyweds and they just couldn't have sex because there were just like so many people around them. And then I think at one point they want to sneak off or something. I saw Salami so long ago that it's a little bit faint, but I do remember liking that segment because I was like, yeah, well, that's kind of practical. And there's a really old 70s movie with Jaya Bachchan. I think it's called Piya Ka Ghar or something like that. And that's an interesting one too, because it's I think it's got Navin Nishchal in it. And they play like a newlywed couple, and she's moved to Mumbai and they live in this big joint family. But of course, the apartment is matchbox size, as Mumbai apartments are. And I think that movie also is about it. Like Piya Ka Ghar literally means my lover's house. And
Yeah.
it's literally about the difficulty of having like privacy when there's so many people in the house and it's such small, cramped living quarters. So I just found that interesting,
And
where it was like the space and the privacy thing.
Tilatoma, of course, was in Sir a couple years ago,
Right.
which explores some of these similar kind of issues. And I
Yeah.
have to admit, I was thinking about that film. I'm like, I don't actually remember how that film ends. I'm like, I need to go back and watch that again. But and she's so delightful. I was so glad to
Yeah.
see. I'm always glad to
I
see
just
her.
haven't seen her in a lot of stuff. Does she do a lot of stuff? I don't feel like she does a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I would have
She
to.
did
I'm
something.
actually, and she's got 43 credits on IMDb, which for an
Wow.
Indian actor who's been in it as long as she is not very many because most people
No.
are in, but of course she is, breathtaking in Monsoon Wedding.
Yes. I
She,
feel like that's probably her most well-known one though. Well, apart from Sir. But I recently saw like she was speaking with Anupama Chopra or someone in an interview, and she was talking about Anil Kapoor and how helpful he was to her or something, but I don't know
oh,
what they collaborated on.
huh. Well,
Yeah.
she's in Kissa, the Tale of a Lonely Ghost, which I've never seen, but I remember being quite a thing. She's in Death in the Gunj,
I don't remember her
Shanghai.
in Death in the Gunj.
I don't either, to be honest with you.
Huh.
Yeah, it's not a ton of films relatively, but yeah, she's wonderful to see her.
Mm.
So
Amrita
yeah,
Subhash, by the way, is in our friend Nihit's short story, Fir
oh,
Kabhi, the one that's still like doing the festival circuit. So we haven't
right.
been able to see it, but she
That's
was in
right.
that. Because she was in wasn't she in Nihit's other work as well? Wasn't she in Choked? I feel like she was in Choked as well, but I don't remember anymore. I mean, I
I'm
know
just
the actress in
completely
Choked was Sayami Kher. But by the
uh
way, I
she's in
read that.
Gully Boy is what I know her from the most, I think.
Oh yes, of
Yeah, you're
course
right.
she's
She
in
is in
Gully Boy.
Choked. She is. And
Yeah,
she
so
was
she was in
in
Choked.
and she's in Ghost Stories, which I did not see because I am too fraidy cat.
I'll watch that if it has good reviews because I love Ghost anything.
Why haven't you watched
Um,
Ghost Stories?
I don't know. I think I tried like to watch some like horror stuff like recently, and I was so disappointed by
Well,
it all that I like gave up.
and the first one, if I recall, has John V in it, so that's not going to be for you if I
Right.
correct some of you. But you should watch them and report back because I mean it's a great
Okay.
idea, right? To have these
Yeah,
little anthology. I like these anthology projects. I think they're interesting. If nothing else,
they are.
there's something I would imagine something a little bit freeing about the shorter format and
Yeah. By the way, I
Oh,
read that the voice of Tilottama's friend, the person on the phone, I think that's Konkona,
yeah,
right?
it is. Yeah.
Ah, so great.
Yeah.
Okay, that was
And I
nice.
hadn't read that, but then halfway through I was like, wait a minute, I know that voice.
Right. Yeah, that
Yeah.
that chick is talented and she needs to direct more. We need more of her. Why isn't she as prolific? Like Zoya Akhtar is also very, very talented and makes a lot of movies, although I'm not looking forward to Archie's at all. But I need Konkona to do more.
Yeah, it would be, I mean, for years and years, I think a lot of us have hoped she would save all sorts of things. So
Yeah,
hopefully she's doing what she wants and can do it in the way that she wants, even if the rest of
right.
us would like more. But I'm always happy to see her on the screen or behind the camera.
Yes.
She is great.
I was gonna say something and I lost my thought, but go
I
ahead.
just, I haven't actually noticed how long we've been recording, but when I was thinking through this today over lunch, I was like, I don't feel like I really have a ton to say about most of these. So I'm glad that we've been able to come up with something. But
Yeah.
I do really like this format. I hope I would gladly take more on other emotions if they want to do it on, if they did a fear one, kind of, they've done these
Yeah.
love/lust ones, like do some others, but um
Um,
it would be really interesting if they could get, because I think I would assume for most people watching, the appeal is the actors, not the directors. So it would be interesting if they could somehow get some actors to come in and do some really like unknown directors or people who've only done, festival films or something,
yeah.
or let people try in a language that's not their usual or something,
Yeah.
right? So I would really like to see that. The other thought that I had while watching this is that this will surprise no one when I say it. One of the things I was thinking about Konkona is just that I wish there was a like Bengali film version of this, because as we've talked about maybe in our Lakin and the Hungry Stones episode, I feel like the Bengali heroes are very good at sort of like brooding and longing and that kind of thing. And I was like, I want one of them in one of these like love stories. So like get Parambrata Chatterjee or someone else who's not a Netflix darling, in there. I'd like to see some of that. So I would like to see one of these that isn't just Hindi. That would be
Right.
fun to mix that up, or like take 4 different languages, right? Like you've got all these different
Right.
cinematic traditions to pull from. That would be really cool to see
Yeah.
people go at something from all these different kind of cultural standpoints. But yeah, I like the form. I hope we get more and that they
Yeah.
are overall a little stronger than this particular set.
I actually went back and watched Love Stories, the first one,
Oh,
the one with Kiara Advani and Vicky Kaushal, because that had
yeah,
been my favorite. And of course,
yeah.
this will surprise no one about me, but my favorite was, of course, the Karan Johar one. I just enjoyed that one the best. And the first thing that I thought was Vicky Kaushal looks so young in it.
Yeah. It was
Like he looks like
5 years
a
ago.
baby. Yeah, but he looks like a baby. I mean, he looks gorgeous, but he also looks like a baby. And his character is so funny. Beth, oh my God. I
Aw.
kept equating him with the dog from Up. Because there's this scene there in the park, and Kira Advani is talking about like, about like porn films and stuff like that. And then Vicky Kaushal like gives her this answer, and then he gets distracted. He goes, "Look, a bird." And then I remember they're like on their bedding, it's their wedding night, and they're sitting on the bed. And as an icebreaker, whatever, because he's so nervous, he asks Kiara, he's like, "What is your favorite? If you were an animal, which animal would you be?" And she's like, "Huh?" And he's like, "We ask such silly questions at work. It's fun." I was like, I actually asked this question a lot. So like, I'm with you, Vicky Kaushal. And then she goes, "I think I'd be a cat." And he's like, "Ooh." And then he says that he would probably be an alligator. And I screen capped it because I was like, is House of Roshan listening? And then he gives her a whole spiel about alligators and how male alligators blow bubbles underwater to attract female alligators, and how he knows all this from National Geographic. And
It's
I was like,
hilarious.
you are the most adorable male character I've seen in a long time. So cute, and I'd completely forgotten. But that was a really good episode. That was my favorite one from the first Love Stories, and it's worth rewatching again, actually. Like even the whole like vibrator scene and
Yeah,
everything.
looking back at that, I was like, I've mostly forgotten these, so I should rewatch them. Doesn't Boomy play domestic help in that
Yeah,
one?
that
Yeah.
was a good one too. So the thing about Love Stories one I remember is that except for the Manisha Koirala one, which was
Mhm.
a terrible episode, or movie or whatever. Except for that one, which was bad, the other three were good. So there
Oh.
was the one that had Bhumi in it. There was the one that had Kiara and Vicky in it, and there was another one that I'm blanking on, but I remember I liked it. And then in this one, there was really only one that was a standout to me. And then the Kajol episode, I liked it with a lot of misgivings. And then the first and the third were just terrible for me. So I was like, you're supposed to do better when you do a second installment of something. You should not be regressing.
Well, you're changing up a lot of who's involved. So
yeah. Have you heard of this director though? The person who made the last movie, the one with Kajol in it? I've never heard of this.
You have,
but I feel like he has promise.
You have, because he did. I just had this pulled up and I just navigated away. He did Badiho.
Oh, really? Okay. Nice.
And I had Tevar, which I have not seen, but yeah.
I've not seen Tevar. Okay. Very cool. Which sin, because lust is one of the 7 deadly sins, is it not? Which sin do you want them to explore? I would definitely go for fear.
That's not a 7 deadly sin.
Oh, that's true. That's not a sin. Greed, I guess. Greed would be a good one.
Greed would be good. Pride, greed, lust, envy, gluttony, wrath, and sloth. I want the sloth one. Because especially on a place like Netflix, you're like, well, that's ironic, given how we all just are tempted to sit there and just press one more episode, you know? So I think it would be interesting to take on like gluttony and sloth and some of the sort of less sexy ones.
Yeah.
I don't just mean.
I'm not sure I want to see anger. Is anger a sin?
Wrath. Yeah.
Wrath. Yeah, I don't think I want to see that, just because there's just so much of that out there anyway.
Yeah, pride would also, I think, be quite interesting.
Pride would be interesting.
So yeah, I'd do pride, sloth, gluttony.
Gluttony would be interesting.
Yeah. Like greed and lust to kind of go together, I think, in these ones anyway. But gluttony, and that's pretty interesting.
Is envy a sin?
Yes.
So that could be interesting too.
A little more psychological, maybe. So
yeah,
there's a lot of room to do these. And I do not know, is there a set of sins in Hinduism that could be explored or whatever? But those are the biblical ones.
I don't think they're like categorized quite that clearly, where it's like all these things bad. I don't think it's quite that clear. Or at least they're not as publicized as like the 7 deadly sins are, which I guess everyone except me knows, because I thought fear was a sin.
So I feel like what they're doing is taking the film nerds out there will do this better than I, but the body horrors, right? So like sex films are sort of off to the side, ghost films are off to the side. So take on, and like the uber violent is sort of up. So take these categories that are non-mainstream and kind of do something more mainstreamy with them. I think that's a very good experiment. I'm all for that. And so, one thing that could be interesting, and maybe this has happened and I don't know because Netflix doesn't tell me, is like, what about a set of these aimed at kids? That could be really interesting, right? Because like cinema for children is often crap. But so many people actually do. A lot of these people are parents, like they care about what their kids watch. So like, let's make some really interesting projects for kids, and maybe some of them actually feature kids. They don't all have to, but they could, right? So maybe something like that would be interesting. So just take some of these things that are a little more fringe and move them, do something, give them some mainstream bank and talent and all, and see. Not that fringe people can't do amazing stuff. They often do, but like it'd be interesting to kind of combine in that way, maybe. So
yeah. Cool. Okay. Do you have anything else to add about this?
I don't think so. I've already kind of said more than I thought I would possibly be able to say, but I
do recommend going back and watching the Kiara Vicky episode, just because it's so well done. And Vicky Kaushal he's a baby and so cute.
Probably is Kiara's best performance, right? So
yeah. Although, you know what? There's a lot of talk right now about this movie that she and Karthik Aaryan just did called Satya Prem Ki Katha. Supposedly she's like really good in it. She's been getting great reviews.
I saw
not so much Karthik Aaryan, but her.
I saw someone on Twitter saying that they really liked it, and I was like,
yeah.
really?
No, I know. I'm surprised too. No,
I'm
I'm
not
not going to
tempted.
watch it in the movie theater for sure. But I was like, she's been getting some very, very good reviews for it, and people are like very happy. And I have to say, I'm not completely surprised by that, only because I watched Juk Juk Jio. Do not recommend. Very
Oh,
underwhelming movie.
I thought that was
But
cute. I mean, it's not great, but it's
mm,
cute.
it was to me it was like forgettable, but she was really good in that scene. I mean,
She
so
was
was
good.
Varun, but we know Varun is good.
Yeah.
But to me, that big scene where they were like really
Their big
fighting like cats
argument
and dogs,
was, yeah,
yeah,
was
it
good.
was a revelation for me because
Yeah.
I was convinced that Varun would bring it because he usually does. He's a talented actor, and I thought Kiara would be like such a limp biscuit in that, and she was great. And I was like, she can act because she's never. Because here's the thing, she has never been given an opportunity to act. Like she was basically eye candy in Bulbulaya 2, which was a stupid movie. She was eye candy in Kabir Singh, which is a horrific movie. Um, I haven't really seen MS Dhoni or
I saw that.
those movies that she's
I
done. And
don't
I think
remember
even
her
in
in it.
those, she was eye candy. Yeah. So the girl has basically not really been given a lot of opportunity to show her acting chops. She had like that blink and miss at role in Kalank, where she was just like in that
Which I
song.
don't remember at all.
No, Kalank
Not
was
at all.
horrific. So I was like, I mean, just based on Juk Juk Ji, I was like, I think she can act. She just is like, she just needs a good opportunity. And if
Mhm.
you give it to her, she can deliver. But if all good roles keep going to one Alia Bhatt, I don't know how anyone else is supposed to show their skill. But she's been getting great reviews for Satya Prem Ki Katha. So I will definitely, I'll catch it when it finally comes on streaming. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking at her Wikipedia. I'm like, yeah, I've never seen
Yeah.
almost any of these things and don't feel
Yeah.
super inspired to, but that's fine.
Yeah, I don't think any of her other films are like that great because I actually did check out her Wikipedia today as well. I think she first got noticed with Lust Stories,
That
where
would make
people are like,
sense.
"Oh,
Yeah.
she's good in this," and then she then got noticed with her one little scene that she had in Jug Jug Jig. Supposedly, she was good in Sher Shah. I did not watch it, but I will check out Satya Prem Ki Katha because I want another actress to root for because I have no one to root for, and it's getting very dire. I'm not going to be rooting for anyone in Archie's. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I was surprised to hear you so
I mean,
firmly
I'll still
state.
watch it because I like Zoe Akhtar's work, but I'm like, Khushi Kapoor, Suhana Khan. I guess like no, it's just the Nepo factory being rammed down our throats. So I'm not here for that. Yeah, if I need my Shah Rukh dose, I'll just watch a Shah Rukh movie. It's
That's
okay.
fair.
I don't see Shah Rukh in a skirt.
That is a good point to end on, I think.
Yes. Okay, so thank you for tuning in to our usual meandering, rambly episodes. We very much enjoy doing these and we hope you like them too. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And we will be back soon with yet another episode of Filmi Ladies. Thank you for watching. Bye.
Bye bye.